Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video on this channel, and welcome back to another tutorial. Entire, detailed, comprehensive, best possible KakoBuy tutorial that you guys will find. I'm going to cover absolutely everything from finding items to purchasing them, understanding sizing, shipping, declaration. Everything is going to be covered in this video. So I'm going to try and speed run through most of these things just so I don't take too much of your time. Obviously, as always, all of the resources that you might need that I will be showcasing in this video will be down in the description down below. Without further ado, let's pretty much just get straight into it. So first of all, you want to find yourself on the KakoBuy website and make an account. Now, I do suggest you make an account using someone's referral code. That could be either my referral code or someone else's referral code. That's completely up to you. Why do I say this? Well, as a result, you will get a bunch of coupons to start off with, which will in turn make your shipping cheaper. So once you do have an account, I want you to understand that KakoBuy doesn't produce any items. They don't sell any items. They provide a service to ship items from China. You're actually buying from private sellers that are located in China and produce these items, and then you use this shipping proxy KakoBuy to ship it over to your country, whether that's Poland, England, US, Australia, wherever in the world. That's basically how this works. Just keep that in mind. Once you've made your account, you can go to the user center and also redeem another code. First of all, JFits20, which until the 30th of June is available to claim, but then it lasts 30 days extra. So basically until the 30th of July, if you claim this as the video goes up, JFits20, which will give you a 20% off, no threshold. So no matter how much your shipping costs, it will always be 20% off. You also have JFits, which I've already used, so I can't showcase, which will last forever. And it's $15 off, no matter the shipping threshold. So if your shipping costs $30 somehow, you will get half of that off, and you can only use this once per account, but you can just make a new account using my link and using the code, and you once again get the $15 off. Obviously, once you've created an account using the link down in the description below, you will be on the main page of the website, and at first this might be kind of confusing. You're not seeing any items, you're just seeing a bunch of text and images, and you don't really know where to start off with. So obviously we want to find items. What are we actually going to be buying here? Now, there's multiple ways of finding items. I do have detailed videos on the previous agent on KakoBuy on how to find items, but I will go over the two biggest or simplest ways, I guess you could say. The first being Reddit, which you could either use quality reps for more high-end brands, for more high fashion clothing, I should say, such as Chrome Hearts, for example, as you can see here, or from Crowler Studios. He makes these nice Prada pants and jackets and whatever. So this is for your more high-end brands, you know, for your high fashion, high quality stuff, as you know, quality reps, the name of the subreddit would entail. Or you could use fashion reps for more of the streetwear finds for more brands like Supreme, Stussy, as you can see, a bunch of Supreme, New Balance, sneakers. If you're looking for literally anything more simple, fashion reps is pretty much your place to be. But I suggest using both and looking for the same items on both, because you never know what you might find. Another web method for finding items is using creator spreadsheets or websites. Obviously, I'm going to use my spreadsheet / website to showcase this for you. These websites are organized lists of items with mostly nicely categorized lists of things. So some websites are going to be better than others, some are going to be worse. That highly depends on just who you want to support and also whose website you're going to find the most appealing. This one is mine, as I just mentioned, and you can obviously sort through categories of what item type, colors, brands, and etc. I will say some spreadsheets / websites from creators use their own private stores to make prices of items more expensive. Please do your own research. When you do find a version of something, for example, I don't know, a jersey or a hoodie, check on Reddit still if that's the best possible purchase you could be making, or maybe you might be able to find a better version that's cheaper elsewhere, because as I just mentioned, creators are opening their own stores, making items more expensive just so they could rake some money in. Just saying, I don't do that, otherwise I wouldn't be even bringing attention to this. So if you do want to use my website even more so, then you know, obviously I would very much so appreciate that. With that out of the way, once you've actually found an item that you might want to buy, you will click the buy on KakoBuy button, or if you want to do so on Reddit, let's actually showcase how you would do that. Since Reddit is a community-based platform, you do need to rely on other people actually making smart decisions and also listing things properly. So as you can see here, when we scroll down, we do actually have links to Weidian, which might be a bit confusing. What is Weidian? This isn't KakoBuy, this isn't KakoBuy, this isn't the agent I use. Weidian is a shopping platform. So if I go here, you'll see that I actually get redirected to a different platform. Everything's in Chinese. You actually cannot buy from here directly. That's why we need a shipping agent to begin with. The main platforms you're going to stumble upon are going to be Weidian and Taobao, with Yupoo sometimes making an appearance, which I'll get into in a sec. First of all, I want to show you how to actually get the stuff onto KakoBuy. So obviously with my website, if you were to click something, you would get instantly redirected. However, if you find a link on Reddit, like I just did, sometimes these links are going to be separated by spaces. Just remove the spaces, copy them, and then paste them into the KakoBuy search bar. Now that either has to be the one on the top of the page. If you get any risk reminders, just click I have read and willing to take all the risks and accept. or you can even do so on the main page and paste the link here into this search, but it doesn't matter. Now you're on the product page. I do have some products opened in particular just to showcase various things for you guys, so I'm going to be using these, but let's just say we found these on Reddit. I did mention weidian and taobao and yupoo, so let's get into that straight away. As you can see, the source of the product here to get the original link is weidian, so if I was to press here, I'll be redirected once again to this platform where everything's in Chinese, or I mean, in this case, this guy is known in the Western community, so he does actually do listings in English. As you can see, you get redirected to this page, and in this example, source of the product taobao, you would be redirected to this page. And these are simply platforms on which you are buying these items from. As I mentioned right at the beginning, KakoBuy or any other agent, they're just shipping agents. They just provide a shipping service. You are not buying the items from them. You're buying the items from private sellers based in China. Okay, please keep that in mind, because a lot of people say, why don't you ask KakoBuy to do this? Ask KakoBuy to make this. What's the sizing like on KakoBuy? It doesn't work that way. Keep that in mind. I did also mention yupoo. Now, finding yupoo stores is slightly more difficult. You do have to do some digging on Reddit or just find a organized list that someone's made. I believe I've made lists in the past that you could find. I mean, there's a lot of resources that I've covered over the last couple months or even years that I've been doing this. But basically, yupoo is a photo catalog where sellers are able to provide photos of items with basically no copyright restrictions, because they're not selling anything on yupoo itself. In this case, MVT is a very well-known seller. He will be shutting down for the next 6 months, so I'm just giving him that one last final shout out. But let's just say we want to buy these gats, and as you can see, you click on the photo of the gats and you get redirected to their individual page, in which you'll find all of the information, close-up photos, price, sizing available, and the link to, once again, Taobao, which I just mentioned. Taobao is a shopping platform. yupoo is just a photo catalog, and then you get redirected to Taobao. So now with that out of the way, you understand what Taobao is, weidian, and yupoo, and how that works. Let's focus on product pages and actually have a look at what's going on here. So first of all, you do have the item seller, which in this case is www.top, a very reputable sneaker seller. The product name, the price. So this currency is Chinese yuan. This conversion isn't one-to-one with the real world, so 140 yuan on KakoBuy is $22.28. However, in the real world, it is slightly less, closer to $21. That's just so the conversion changes don't affect the company itself, and they can keep like a stable conversion rate that isn't obviously affected by any political reasons, by any geopolitical reasons or economic reasons that they don't have any impact on. If you don't want to see the currency in yuan or dollars, and you maybe want to have a different language or currency on the website in general, in the top right, you do have a very nice panel with a bunch of options. Okay, so a myriad of languages, a myriad of currencies you choose from. For example, I could have this website in Polish and have the currency in złoty, which would mean that now I know that this is podstawowa seria, zostaw wiadomość z rozmiarem. But yeah, basically all the languages, all the currencies you could think of, and this is a really nice feature that I want you guys to keep in mind. Just below we have the source of the product, which we already covered, and that will take you back to obviously the product page. Then you have the 2 steps that actually go into ordering stuff, and you can pretty much just narrow it down this easily to something this simple. Seller delivery to the KakoBuy warehouse. So the seller will ship this to the KakoBuy warehouse, which will cost you 10 yuan on top of the item price. And then after you do that, you can ship it to yourself, to your country. So yes, you do basically pay for shipping twice. You pay domestic shipping, which is usually 10 yuan, so basically like $1.50, and then you pay international shipping, which is where most of the money actually goes, and it's quite expensive. If you were to ship one pair of shoes, it'd probably be something like $30. The bigger the haul, the bigger the items, the more the items, the more you're going to pay for the haul. Simple as that. And then slightly below, you will see a thing for version. Now this is where things get slightly confusing, especially with sneakers. With clothes, it's slightly more easy to understand. Versions, or batches as they're known within the industry, are the different factories that produce these different models of shoes, and different factories will specialize in different models and be better for different shoes. I think that made sense. For example's sake, because I didn't do the research for all of these models in particular, let's say G batch is the best for these Supreme CDG Air Force Ones. Okay, I don't know if that's the case, I'm just saying for example. And GX batch would be worse for them. You wouldn't buy GX batch of these shoes, but you would buy G batch. But in some cases, G batch will be worse for these black Air Force Supremes, but GX will be better. This is where you need to do your own research. Go on fashion reps with sneakers in particular and search for, I don't know, for example, CDG Supreme AF1. Sort by new. And once you see that you have a bunch of results, you can go digging into the comments or even just the description, see what people are saying about this pair in particular, and find out which version is the best in your case. It's not as simple as just finding the first best thing and ordering it, unless you want to get something that's lower quality and too expensive. I do highly suggest you do your own research on all the versions of all the shoes you're looking for. For example, off the top of my head, I can tell you that if you want reverse mochas, you can buy them from CVW, or you can get PK batch. Both of those are very good, but you probably wouldn't get GX batch of them because the materials on them are going to be worse. The suede isn't going to be as good. Attention to detail just aren't as nice. Do your own research. That is important. Obviously, we've already glossed over color. That's quite self-explanatory. You are picking the model here of the shoe and size. As you can see, for size, you need to leave a note about the size. Now, what does that mean exactly? Sometimes you will have the option to pick a size for shoes from 39, for example, to 45 or something along those lines, just numbers in the 30s and 40s. That is European standard sizing of shoes. Now, to find the right size in your case, obviously keep in mind what brand you're ordering from. These shoes are made to fit the retail sizing. However, some brands such as Adidas, Nike, or New Balance might have slightly different sizing. So for example, in this case, I would Google US 10 to EU Nike, find the men's footwear size chart, and then go to, for example, EU 43. I am an EU 43, so that means I'm a US 9.5 or a UK 8.5. Just convert your shoe size and then you know what to order. And in this case, when you can't pick a size, you will leave it in the remarks section. Remarks or notes is just comments for the agent that's going to be placing the order for you. So I would put size 43 here, and that's all I have to do. Now I can add it to cart, and that will basically be it for finding and adding the item. That's pretty much it. Sizing for clothes is also quite confusing. Shoes is quite simple because you have shoes already. Probably you own shoes, and you know your foot doesn't change sizes. The fit doesn't really change in shoes. It's pretty much mostly the same, other than some pairs such as the Easy Slides that you have to size up on. With clothes, it's slightly more confusing. For the sizing, where you have these sizing labels such as M, L, XL to XL, don't really pay attention to this. This isn't what you should be deciding your size on, because a small on one pair of clothing will be different than a small on another pair of clothing. What you want to do is scroll down on product pages and find the size chart of these items. Here you go. Here is the size chart for this Loro Piana shirt, and this is what you should go based off of. So you've got all the information, your chest measurement, your shoulder measurement, your length measurement, sleeves, and also the recommended height and weight. These size charts will vary from seller to seller. They're going to look slightly different. For example, on these jorts from Tiger, if you scroll down, it's basically something like this. And as you can see, it's labeled 30, 32, 34, 36. These labels are literally just labels. They don't actually dictate the size that this is going to be in. Same with these jeans, 30, 32, 34, 36. But as you can see, the sizing is widely different from the previous pair of jorts that I just showed you. This is what you should really keep in mind and pay attention to. Sizing is so important. You cannot return these items when they come to you in real life. You're going to be stuck with something that fits strangely, fits too big, fits too small. You do really need to pay attention. What is the best way to actually get items that fit you, you might ask? Obviously, check the measurements in depth. Check them properly and think about what you're buying. As well as that, find items that you already own in real life, jeans that you like the fit of, shirts that you like the fit of, tops, whatever, hoodies, and measure their proportions and get an idea of what you should be looking for. For example, in my case, I know I should be buying something around an L or XL. I'm 183 centimeters, so this seller suggests XL, but the length would be a bit long for me. I prefer these things to be slightly shorter, so maybe I would buy an L. A lot of brain power that you need to use and just figure out what works best for you. Same with these jorts. Like, I know a 34 will fit nice and loose, but they would just be too loose, whereas a 32 will be a nice, slightly tighter fit, and it will just be a bit more appealing to look, and they'll just look a bit more appealing on body. Same with these jeans. I would definitely go for a 32 here because of the waist being 86.5. A 91.5 waist would give me too much loose space in my waist, and I just don't want to have these pants literally falling to the ground when I wear them. So just keep that in mind. Sizing is extremely important. Please check the size charts. If there isn't a size chart on the product page, then that's the issue that you can raise with the seller, and you might just have to guess. Once you've actually found all the items you want to buy, you're going to have to add them to your cart. I mean, obviously, like with any other platform that you're buying stuff on, once you've got your cart, buying the items from the cart. Let's take a couple for this example of now going into shipping estimation. Once you have your items in your cart, you know how much they cost, okay? That's all nice and clear, but you don't know how much you're going to spend on shipping. We're going to have to do a bit of a guessing game here, and that basically is figuring out what you're buying. So for example, let's say I want to order this pair of reverse mochas, 2 of these pairs of Oakleys, this pair of jorts, 2 of these t-shirts, and let's just call it that. So as you can see, my current item price is $245. That does not include international shipping. For international shipping, you have to use the shipping fee estimation tool, the calculator. In my case, this will be shipped to Poland. This is where you might get surprised with how much these things cost. So I've got 1 pair of shoes, so I can guesstimate that's about 1.1 kilograms. 2 pairs of these Oakley pants, so I'm going to guesstimate that these are around 700 grams each, so that's 1.4 kilos. So that's 2.5 kilos altogether so far. And this pair of jorts will probably weigh around 400 grams. So let's just say 3 kilograms to overestimate. 2 t-shirts, let's say 250 grams each, 3.5 kilos, and that's it. So I would go here and do 3,500 grams, which is 3.5 kilograms, and I'll get an idea of how much the shipping would cost. The more you ship, the more value you get for your shipping, because the first 500 grams are the most expensive to ship. What do I mean by that? This isn't the case for every shipping line, but as you can see for DPD, for example here, the first 500 grams are $8, and then it gets separated in the 100 gram windows. So basically, if it's a shipping line like Tariffless, where you get charged for every 500 grams, if you were to ship 3.1 kilograms, you're paying for an extra 400 kilograms that you're not shipping, if you know what I mean. I hope that's clear to understand. I don't want to go into too much detail. This is an overall tutorial, but you can estimate how much you're going to pay for shipping in this calculator. Keep in mind, some of these shipping lines charge you based on volumetric weight. Now, what does that mean? If you see here, the volumetric weight is calculated by the length, width, and height of the parcel, and then it's divided by 8,000, and then you will pay for whichever number is higher. There's basically no way of guesstimating your volumetric weight because you have no way of knowing how big the box is. So sometimes when you have 3.5 kilograms of actual item weight, that's how much the items actually cost if you were to put them on a scale. Their volumetric weight based on this measurement here will be higher, and it will be, for example, 4.5 kilograms. So you will be paying for shipping for 4.5 kilograms, not 3.5. Keep that in mind. This is very important. You don't want to be surprised that you're overpaying or whatever. That's what you need to know. Okay, once you're in your cart and you've actually got the items you want to order, for the purpose of this example, I'm just going to order these Oakley pants. You will click submit, okay? You'll be redirected to this page. You can read this. I already know everything I need to know, so I don't really care about this. And here you have this checkout page. First of all, the remark section. Once again, if you remember, this is where you leave notes for the agent. If you want to put your size or if you want to ask any questions, you can leave them here. If you're buying shoes, put your size here. It won't hurt to do so. It pretty much ever. If you go slightly to the right, you'll see an option called extra photo. What does this mean? Well, a lot of items have a lot of details, okay? Let's say you've got this pair of pants, for example, which, as you can see, has a lot of zips and pockets and different details. If you want any close-ups of inside tags of your product to be laid in a specific way, this is where you'll do so. You'll click extra photo, add however many you want, and specify what you want to see. Please take a photo of the zip along the knees, for example, where you turn the long pants into shorts, just so you can get an idea of how well the shorts are made. Because as you may or may not know, when these items come to the warehouse, you're just going to get basic photos of the items laid out on a table with a ruler next to them. And so you understand what I mean, let me show you. This is exactly what I mean. These are the basic photos you're going to get, with a close-up of the inside tag only, and the item is just laid out on a ruler. You don't see anything up close, okay? So if you do want to see something up close, the extra photo section is there for you to do so. These do cost. This is not an expensive service at all. I'm going to remove the extra photo there because I don't care for it. I will agree to the terms and conditions, and now, as you can see, I can submit the order. Here you have all the payment options available on KakoBuy. Now, actually, we do have PayPal here, which is really nice. PayPal wasn't available on ACBuy, so that's something that you get the benefit of. You have a bunch of options here: Ideal, Skrill, PayU, Alipay, Apple Pay, just overall Visa, Google Pay, PayPal, as I've just mentioned, Balance, which you can top up using all the payment methods here available. I'm just going to use the Balance in this case because that's most convenient to me. Confirm, and you will be redirected to the payment completed page, unless obviously the payment wasn't completed. Now you can go to the My Order tab. Now the Orders tab is where you have a view of everything that you have ever placed an order on, and you can also filter based on the status of the order. Now these different statuses are very, very simple. Pending payment is you placed an order but you didn't go through the payment process. You just basically clicked buy now, went to the confirm page, and when it opened the payment tab, you just closed that. Paid means that you just bought it and an agent hasn't been assigned to your order and he hasn't ordered it to the warehouse just yet. Purchased means that they actually took your money, sent it over to the seller, and now the seller will be sending the item over. Shipped means the item is on the way to the warehouse. Storing means it's in the process of getting photographed and actually put into your warehouse tab, which we'll get into in a sec. Available for shipment means that it's stored in the warehouse and ready to be shipped. Submitted means that you've submitted the parcel with that item, but the item hasn't been shipped yet. Shipped international means, obviously, it has been shipped internationally. Receipted, it should be received, really. It means that it has been received by you and it has arrived to your address. Cancelled, cancelled. Refunding, in the process of being refunded. Refunded, refunded. Very simple. As you can see, these are all the order statuses that you're seeing: paid, purchased, available for shipment, refunded here because I actually returned this old item. And the order page is basically just a nice view of everything you've ever placed an order on. However, I think you're going to spend more time in the warehouse page, which actually gives you a view of all the items that have arrived, all of your actual individual items that belong to you. Like, for example, this Brunello Cucinelli t-shirt, which will be the one-of-one t-shirt that I would receive in real life. These are the photos of your actual items and not just product pages provided. This is what you will be receiving. So if you find any issues in these photos, obviously you can go through a return or exchange process. If there is anything ever wrong with your order, return or refund, okay? Keep that in mind. How do you do that? Well, as you can see here, you've got a button that says return goods. You do have to provide a reason, for example, other reason, and I don't know, you could say the seller sent a faulty pair of jorts. I want a refund. And boom, you wait the 3 to 7 days, get the money back. Obviously this is service fee and shipping fee, and you get the money back to your account, and then you can place an order elsewhere. But this return goods section is very important. If you ever get anything that you're not satisfied with based on the QC photos, just return it, get your money back, order something else. Obviously there's a bunch of info here in general in the warehouse tab. You do have your weight, your volume, which isn't really important to you, mail restriction, which also doesn't matter, and the actions tab. Now in the actions tab, we do obviously have the return goods that I just covered. You do have the express info, which is the shipping, domestic shipping of the item arriving to the warehouse. You don't really care about that either, just wait for it to arrive. This message tab is very, very important. If you have any doubts, any issues with your order, if you want to ask your agent to do anything for you, this is where you go to do so. First of all, you'll be prompted to a bunch of pre-written prompts. You can ignore this, just click whatever and then click talk to a person, and here you can actually type whatever to your agent. So for example, if the item hasn't shipped for a while and you're waiting for the seller to ship it, you could write, please urge the seller to ship, and then the agent will actually send a message to the seller and be like, can you ship this item? I'm waiting too long, please ship it. That's probably going to be the main use case scenario. Do keep in mind that returning items is only available for like, I think 3 or 5 days depending on the seller after the item arrives in your warehouse. So check the photos as quick as possible, make sure everything looks good, and if something doesn't look good, return the item as soon as possible. As you can see here, for example, these items stored quite recently, so the return goods button is still here, whereas this item stored quite a while ago and I don't have the option to return the goods anymore through the button. Sometimes you might be able to click the message and contact an agent and ask them to return it manually, but that won't always work, so do keep in mind the return goods button won't always be here. If there's for example a QC issue, you notice on a photo that something's wrong, you can also write a message here and ask whether they could verify what's up with the item in question. You do also have the option to buy extra photos here, just in case you didn't so earlier, you forgot to do so or whatever. You do have the option here. Okay, now let's say all your items already arrived in the warehouse and now you actually want to get them shipped out. There's 2 ways of doing so. There is rehearsal packing, or there is just normal submitting. We're going to start off with rehearsal packing because I feel like that's the feature most people are going to use. Let's, for example, select these 11 items, and as you can see, you do have the information for what you've selected so far here. An actual weight of 6.7 kilograms, a volume of whatever. Now, these are estimates, okay? This is the actual weight of the raw items, but this doesn't take into consideration the packing materials that are going to go into the items, the box itself that is going to be shipped in, and all that good stuff. And the volume as well is just an estimate with some very confusing maths that you wouldn't be able to do yourself. So that's where rehearsal packing comes in. You could submit your package for rehearsal, which will basically mean that they will take all these items that you've submitted, pack them into a box, and actually tell you the real actual weight and the real volume, so you know how much you're going to spend when you submit the parcel. This process takes up to 24 hours, so you're basically delaying your shipping by a day, but you are going to know how much you're paying as you pay, which differs from normally submitting the parcel, because when you normally submit the parcel, you're basically paying a deposit. You're going to spend whatever it says you're going to spend, and then you might be asked to pay more, or you are going to get a refund. So you are basically going in with a guessing game, whereas with rehearsal packing, you're dodging all of that. The rehearsal and the submit page are basically the same, so we're going to go into this and we're going to knock it all out the park straight away. First of all, your address at the top. Obviously, you're going to have to put in your home address here. This is my address, obviously. Just below that, we have items, and you can remove all tags, remove all packaging, select all folded outer packaging. What does this mean? If you don't want hang tags to be for customs reasons on your items, then you can remove on all of them, or maybe on some items you want to do that. If you want to remove packaging to save on the weight and to save on volume, volume is the biggest one. Boxes are really, really big. Shoe boxes in particular. Imagine how much space 2 shoes take, and imagine how much space the whole box takes around that. That's increased volume that you're going to be paying for, okay? And then the third option, select all folded outer packaging. Now that's for saving volume and for keeping the box. For example, you have a nice collector's piece, a nice pair of shoes, like for example the reverse smokers that have a pretty nice box. You could just choose to fold the outer packaging and save volume as opposed to removing it. Now these options are as you can see, it's either one or the other, right? You either delete the box or you fold the box. I suggest honestly removing packaging unless you do actually have a box that you find visually appealing or you want to put up on a shelf or something, because you're going to save a bunch on the shipping. Below that we have the packing details. What I like to use the most is shoe trees for my shoes. Just for a visualization, you're going to have a metal shoe tree placed in the shoe so it doesn't get scrunched up in the shipping. I think that's great. Vacuum bag for clothing. If you have a lot of clothes, a lot of t-shirts, hoodies, even jeans, vacuum bagging will save so much volume. It is a game changer. I highly suggest you use vacuum bagging. If you do use vacuum bagging, do remember to leave in the notes here down below, please do not vacuum the shoes, okay? If they vacuum the shoes, you're going to get creases straight away without even wearing them. It's just not worth it. Please don't vacuum the shoes. Remember to do that. And on top of that, I also like to do stretch film, because not only does this encourage the customs a little bit, it also makes the box feel a lot more secure, because everything is stuck in a huge plastic wrap that's really hard to get through without cutting it open basically. Those are pretty much the only 3 options I would pick: shoe tree, vacuum bag, and stretch film. Bubble wrap is great if you have something that's very delicate, because bubble wrap is, you know, just empty pockets of air. You are filling up more volume in your box and you're going to have more expensive shipping. Obviously, we don't want that. So bubble wrap only for specific items that you really care about. And when you do pick it, do specify. Please only use the bubble wrap on item, and then you're going to take the item ID that's below the picture here. So for example, I don't know, I would want to bubble wrap these recurrence mules, and then the code. And that's all you need to know. And then you would submit and pay for the rehearsal process. Just to give you an idea, this is now the submit way bill, and obviously it redirects you to a new page. And this is here you actually be picking your shipping lines. You can specify what shipping line you want to use in rehearsal, but you don't need to use that in the end. But once again, this is all the same. I just at the top, all these options to remove tags and packaging or whatever. Scroll down, packing details. Remember, shoe tree, vacuum bag, stretch film. And now you've got your logistics tab, okay, your shipping lines. From experience, I can tell you this shipping right now is just an estimate, and it's going to be way more expensive than it will be in reality. Most likely going to get a refund on an order like this, especially because there's a bunch of clothing items that you can vacuum, shoes that you can remove the packaging from, and just various options that are going to save on volume and space. But with that out of the way, how do you actually know what shipping line to use? With the shipping calculator. Now, I'm going to go based on the majority, I guess, spread of people that are going to be ordering, starting off with the EU, in this case, Poland, because that's where I live. Any tariffless line is great. As long as it says Europe tariffless line, that's perfect. DHL's is good. Europe tariffless line K, all of these are fine. You can basically pick whichever's cheapest. As long as it has exclusive delivery broke, commercial customs clearance, you are good to go. I wouldn't use European True Special line, for example, because it doesn't have those triangular shipping resolutions. What is a triangular shipping route? This basically only goes to the EU. Basically, your parcel gets shipped to first the Netherlands, then it gets carried over to Germany, and then it gets carried over to your destination country. So it's a nice method to basically trick customs, pretty much. And also a good indicator of knowing if a shipping line is worth using is by knowing whether it has insurance. Insurance will give you a refund if something happens to your parcel. Always buy insurance, okay? You don't want to miss out on insurance. It's a great safeguard to have. For the US, it's also quite simple. You don't want to be using any of these weird unbranded cosmetics, Air Express or EUB. EUB is basically a hard avoid, and also look at the transit time, it's very long. USPS tax-free is great. USPS special line is also great. US tax-free, or CN EMS. Any EMS lines are also fantastic. You have a lot of options in the US. Just pick whichever is cheapest in your case and whichever one will arrive the fastest. Obviously, you can adjust how much you want to pay accordingly to how much you want to wait. For Canada, you have these 2 very cheap shipping lines, Sea Packet and SAO. Now, these are basically going to be sea freight. SAO is a 50-50. Either you get sea freight or you get flight, and it just means that you're going to be waiting a long time. However, as you can see, it's really cheap. These lines are going to be the cheapest. Obviously risky with customs and a long wait time. Any of these Canada lines are going to be good, especially since they have insurance. I should have mentioned earlier, check for insurance. You always want to be insured on your parcels. Don't use EUB once again. These Canada lines are great. And if you want for something even safer, EMS, okay? GDEMS to Canada will pretty much never fail. It is just a good all-around choice. You UK guys are lucky, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's the one thing I miss about living in the UK. It's the cheap ass, fast ass shipping. UK line B, 5 to 12 days, $18 for a kilogram. Just use UK line B. I wouldn't use anything else. You don't want to be saving dollars and risking stuff. You also have insurance here. UK line B is just so goated. I love it. Just stick with UK line B, okay? Stick with it. Trust me. For Australia, it's pretty much the same thing as Canada. You have a sea freight route, which is slightly faster because obviously countries are a bit closer, but it's still risky and it will take a long time. But just the AU lines are going to be good, as well as GDEMS. GDEMS basically doesn't fail unless you are in the European Union, in which case you do need to use a triangular shipping line, trust me. But yeah, GDEMS, AU lines, they're both fine. Okay, now last but not least, for non-European Union countries and basically the rest of the world, you kind of don't have best possible options. You're just picking the least bad one, okay? For non-EU countries, EMS is usually what I would say your go-to. However, based on the description of this NL brand line, for example, strong customs clearance ability, that might be a reason to risk it, and you do also have insurance, so it could be worth using. But as you can see, for example, EUBZ doesn't have insurance, so I would completely avoid that. Or if you want to go with the safest thing, GDEMS or any EMS line to non-European Union countries, to other countries around the world that don't have strong options, pretty much your safe bet. Now we can go back to the submit page, and I know the tariffless line is great. I'll be picking it. And also this one always charges by actual weight, so your volume actually isn't as important. So you could keep all your boxes and it wouldn't make much of an issue. It'd only be like 100, 200 grams, which really isn't that much. Here you've got the option for insurance. how much the items cost, how much the shipping is cost, and how much you can get depending on the case scenario. Delay, lost or damaged, custom service. If your items are lost or damaged, then you do need to wait a specific amount of time just in case the items do turn up, or you do get a refund as well. And the same for your customs seizure. Here, just you did in the rehearsal section, you do have a mark window where you can specify how you want the stuff packaged, what you want bubble wrapped, what you don't want bubble wrapped, what you want vacuum bagged. This is the same exact thing as before, but obviously now on the submit page as opposed to the rehearsal page. Just below, you do have a coupon section. Now, for example, you do have the JFITS20 code that is only going to be usable until the 30th of June, like I mentioned before, which will in turn give you a 20% off no threshold coupon, or you can just use JFITS, which will give you $15 off no matter the threshold, just once, obviously per account, but you can just make new accounts. And then you can choose it from your list of coupons here. Obviously, these are all the ones that you got from signing up with my referral link, and this is the 20% off no threshold discount coupon here as well. Obviously, you need to select that you agree with the risks because, you know, just lack of liability on their end, and submit. Here you pay for your stuff, and that is the entire process. Once you confirm the payment, obviously I don't want to actually ship this parcel, so I'm not going to do that. And then in your parcels tab, you will find all of your submitted parcels. As you can see, obviously I didn't pay for this one. I have the option to pay for it now, but you do have one that I submitted earlier, some AP swatches that I'll be making a in-depth video on. So you should be looking forward to that, with a in-depth description of how much everything cost, the shipping line I used, the tracking number, which on your end will be blurred, the current status of the parcel. So as you can see here, it says ship, the parcel number, the weight, the volume, once again the tracking number, and various options here. Share coupon. If you make a TikTok, a Reddit post, or a Instagram reel, whatever video, you can share of a specific parcel. You can provide the URL to that link and get some money back, which is great. Confirm receipt means you confirm that you've received the item, just so it hasn't updated on their end. You can update it manually. If you press it accidentally, nothing really happens, so don't worry about that. You'll get a photo of them weighing the parcel, a photo of the parcel and all the items inside of the parcel with their individual weights and volumes and whatever. But the pictures you can actually also access from here. Once again, the weighing photo and the actual photo of the box. For complete transparency's sake, this is how they calculate the volume and everything. So this is basically where you get an explanation of why you paid so much for shipping. And last but not least, KakoBuy has a very nicely organized list of share goods, because before an AC buy had to go one by one, whereas here you can bulk copy individually, and everything's all nicely organized. But yeah, that's probably not going to matter to most of you guys. And that's actually pretty much it. I think I've covered everything there is to cover. If you want to track your haul and know where it is currently, you can just go into this parcel tab. Obviously, the tracking number is blurred, but if I do click on it, you do have the current tracking status of the item. You can also use platforms such as 17 Track, copy and paste your tracking number there and get information on where your parcel currently is. Honestly, don't freak too much and check the tracking too often. I know that's a common thing people do when they first start getting into this. They're checking every day. They're like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? One of the biggest things I can recommend to you is to be patient, okay? The chances of you getting seized or your item getting lost or whatever are very, very, very low. Like, honestly, you'd have to be extremely unlucky. It doesn't happen as often as you think. Just please be patient and wait for your stuff to arrive. It will arrive unless you're extremely unlucky, which most of you aren't going to be. Just be patient and wait for the stuff to come. Obviously, there's a myriad of other features such as favoriting items, store views, item viewing history, all of that stuff. But these are features that you're going to stumble upon casually through just using the website. And I don't need to really cover them in a video like this. As long as you know how to find products, how to buy the right size and how to find the right batch or the right version, how to actually order that to your warehouse, how to return it, submit the haul, all of those basics. As long as you got that out of the way, you are basically good to go. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. This was quite a waffle fest. I hope you actually understood what I was talking about. I know my accent isn't always the easiest to get. Obviously, shout out to Mr. Editor for putting this video together as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.